place value, round to the nearest hundred. Round 145 to the nearest hundred. Let's go ahead and place 145 into our place value chart. Now, since we are rounding 145 to the nearest hundred, we're going to go ahead and circle the number in our hundredths column, which is a 1. Now, remember the rules of rounding. 5 or more, up the score. 4 or less, let it rest. So since our neighbor is a 4, we're actually going to let it rest because 4 or less, let it rest. So that means that the 1 is going to stay the same, and everything after that is going to turn into zeros. $145 rounded to the nearest hundred is 100. Pretty simple. Let's try another example. Round 253 to the nearest hundred. First, let's go ahead and place 253 into our place value chart. 253, and we are rounding to the nearest hundred. So let's go ahead and circle the number in our hundreds column, which is a 2. And let's go ahead and go to our neighbor. Our neighbor is a 5. Now remember the rules of rounding. 5 or more, up the score. 4 or less, let it rest. So since it's a 5, we're going to up the score. So instead of a 2, we're now going to have a 3. And everything after that is going to turn to zeros. So 253 rounded to the nearest hundred is 300. Pretty simple. Let's try one more example. Round 98 to the nearest hundred. So let's go ahead and place 98 onto our place value chart. So we have 98. Okay, and then we're rounding to the nearest hundred. So I don't have anything in my hundred, so that's like if I had a 0 there. Okay, so let's go ahead and put a 0 there because we don't have anything. And let's go ahead and circle the 0. Okay, now let's go ahead and look onto our neighbor. Our neighbor is a 9. Now remember the rules of rounding. 5 or more, up the score. 4 or less, let it rest. So since we have a 9, that's 5 or more, up the score. So instead of a 0, I'm now going to have a 1. And everything else turns into zeros. So 98 rounded to the nearest hundred is 100. Pretty simple. Now go ahead and practice with a friend.